Hey everybody, welcome back. Live at Drew's House Job Afternoon Drive, another edition. Hope everybody is doing well. We have a first for me here. The Newburyport Mayor, Sean Reardon, in the house finally. We've done a Zoom interview or two, but here we are in house. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's
nice to be here in person.
I know. It's finally nice. How's it been so far?
It's been great. I get asked that a lot. No, it's been great. You know, I'm a little over 5 months in now, and yeah, God, I'm still loving every minute of it. Putting a lot of time in, and again, I think we're getting a lot done too. So it's been really great.
This is a very simple question, but is it more or less work than you expected? Because everybody I talk to always says it is very time-consuming running a city.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right. I actually would say it's just what I expected.
Exactly. All right.
You know, not exactly. It's probably more, I guess. But it's just a very cool job in that, you know, every 30 minutes you could be in something completely different, right? So I mean, my days are very full, but I mean, I get to do a lot of different things throughout the day.
What? Give me the routine. What time you get up in the morning?
Like around 6:30.
Coffee drinker?
Day. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Really?
No. Yeah. Natural high all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is surprising. to me.
I do drink. I have a Diet Coke at lunch, but
okay.
That's about as much as caffeine I take in. But yeah, no, not a coffie drinker. You know, I got 3 kids, so I try to get up and help them get ready for school, and you know, make lunches, and I'm in City Hall just about every day, but you know, before 8 o'clock.
Okay, you and my wife, not coffee drinkers.
Yeah, my wife can't live without it. So
yeah, that's all right. That's me. I'm a coffee addict.
Yeah.
I can't get through the day without. Okay, well that's interesting. What has been the biggest surprise so far in these first 5 months? Anything catch you off guard, or it could be positive too?
Oh yeah, I mean, I get caught off guard all the time. I would say, you know, the personnel issues that you have to deal with on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. That's probably been the biggest thing. That's, I would say, a surprise, just because it's not something you campaign on. You know, I can't wait to, deal with personnel issues.
Well, you had spots to fill too right off the bat, didn't you?
Sure, yeah, right off the bat. So yeah, I think we've been able to bring in some great people. I mean, I think that's been, one of the fun parts too. Is I think anytime there's an opening, it's an opportunity to bring someone in that's great, right? So I've been able to kind of build my staff, and I love my staff right now. I think we're really firing on all cylinders, and then some of the department heads that have moved on, we've been able to fill too. So but I just, even just the day-to-day stuff, working with unions, dealing with certain employee issues. I think that's probably been the most surprising thing. But I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise, right? Because you have so many employees under one roof, under the umbrella of the city. You're always going to be dealing with those issues.
Some of the positive things, I saw you at the graduation. Yeah, all decked out there. That seemed like a fun day.
I would say that's probably been the funnest, kind of coolest, most meaningful thing I've done. Just because I went to Newburyport High. I grew up in Newburyport, so like to be a part of that day and see how excited the kids were. I mean, it was like a back-to-back thing. Saturday we did the drive up car parade, which was really fun because you got to see the parents up close too, and they were just so proud and excited for their kids. And then to hand out the diplomas. I mean, just again, I didn't have to speak at the event. I just had to seal the deal, give them the diploma, and they were just so appreciative and just so happy. So I mean,
cool
that was
moment
pretty
for
cool.
the kids too, to meet the mayor, I think, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm around quite a bit, so I mean, I feel like they probably all have met me at some point at this juncture. But it was just cool. It's just cool to be a part of that. Just knowing I went through that, not that long ago. This week, my daughter, my eighth grader, is having her class day, which is their kind of 8th grade celebration. I won't call it a graduation, but their class day is Thursday, so that'll be really special. I mean, it was 33 years ago that I was sitting in those seats, that they'll be at. So I'm looking forward to that on Thursday as well.
That is cool. How about some of these spring sports and Newburyport kids had? I don't know if you're following that.
Oh yeah, no, I went to the first baseball game, so it was nice to see them roll. And then last night they qualified for the final on Saturday, which I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to. My daughter's in a soccer tournament, but I wish them all the luck. And lacrosse, we went to the lacrosse game on Saturday where they had a huge win over I think Pioneer Valley, and then they had a tough one against Cohasset yesterday. So
so in this show, I think we'll end up airing after that game. So good luck to the boys. We hope you
good luck, boys. Bring it home.
Hopefully we're talking about a victory parade or whatever.
State championship's pretty cool.
What do you do with state championships? Do you do parades?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Yep. We've been lucky in Newburyport. We've had a lot over the last couple of years, right? So I mean, I think there's always a some sort of police fire escort kind of through town a little bit. But yeah, those should be celebrated because they're hard to get. So
that's the cool kind of the quirks of the job that are just fun being mayor, right?
Oh yeah, no, there's lots of those. You know what I mean? There's lots of this weekend in particular. there was just so much going on. So we had Pride in the Port events that I was able to.
Yeah, that went off well. I heard
that went out well. No no complaints according to the marshal. And just everyone just seemed to have a good time around town, and there was just enough events going on that really made it a special day. Plus the weather was just incredible. But then, Flag Day 5K, Derek Hines' race, I got to do that. There was over 1,300 runners there. I got to address the crowd, which was a lot of fun. And then the next day there was Fireman Sunday and a poetry contest on the waterfront. And then, not contest, but poetry, readings of favorite poems, the 20th Greater Newburyport Poem Project, which was pretty cool. And then that night, it was the 125th anniversary of the synagogue in town was celebrating. So I mean, I get to do a lot of cool things like that too. Mixed in with all the day-to-day work.
Derek, it's always amazing to me, and I'm not surprised by it. But how many people turn out for all the Derek Hines stuff? It's just, I mean.
Well, it had been 2 years too since they were able to do the race. Last year it was virtual, and I don't think they did it at all in 2020. So it was amazing to see so many people come out. I think they said they had over 1,100 pre-register for the event, and so I didn't run. My back's a little messed up right now. I'm not in shape. I think this job is keeping me from getting in shape, but I've got to make some time to do that.
All right.
But it was really cool. I mean, that's just an amazing story. They do so many wonderful things with that organization, the Soldiers Assistance Fund, and Trevor Hines, Derek's brother, is kind of running the show now for them along with other members of his family. But he just does a great job, and again, it's always emotional. It's always just a special day, and I love to see so many families and people come from out of town to take part in it.
Yeah. I was in the hockey team used to do stuff.
St. John's Prep and Newburyport do things. They still have their annual game each year that raises money, but again, they have a big reach. And I told the story when I was on stage. It's hard not to think of Derek every day, especially in this job. I walk into City Hall, I see his picture there in kind of the Hall of Veterans, and I drive around town, I go by his parents' house, driving down Ferry Road and think of him. You go over Hines Bridge. I mean, he's always front of mind. So it's great that his legacy can be kind of carried on this way, and all the great work they're doing in that. That Soldiers Assistance Fund. Yeah.
Pride in the Port. That event, like you said, went off great. You finally got some great weather. That forecast wasn't looking good.
No, not for a while. We're on a good stretch.
I only know that because my that was the same day that my sister had her wedding celebration. And my mother was freaking out all week. So I was getting texts.
Those are always tense moments when you're relying on something you can't control.
It was a long week of text messages. What's the forecast? I guess I know some meteorologists that she doesn't know. But yes, that went well. I wasn't going to go here, but the drag situation there. Did you get involved with that at all? With the controversy there about having that event?
Sure. I mean, it came up, because it's one of my departments that was putting it on. Again, we were supportive from the outset. I mean, I do think...
Catch people up on what exactly the deal was, because I think a lot of people don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the NYS, again, is a very inclusive organization. We work with all of our kids in town. There was a group of... LGBTQ students who wanted to put on a dance. So they had set this up, and again, the students were the ones that kind of organized the event, and they thought it'd be fun to have a drag queen DJ.
Yep.
And I do think they originally advertised about the event, which kind of I think threw some people off, and so they had to correct some of the language they were using, because it was going to be a kid-friendly event. NAGLY, which is an organization in the North Shore here that supports LGBTQ kids, were involved. They are actually paying for it with a grant from that, so it kind of blew up into a kind of a bigger thing.
Yeah.
I think once we all got together, talked about it, put out some more information about it. The Masonic Lodge originally was the venue, and then they backed out, and then they came back. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, it turned out to be a great event. I think a lot more people went to it than ever were going to go to it before. Yeah. It became a much bigger event, I think, because of all of it. But I mean, I think it became a fun and safe night for kids, and a lot of people came out in the community, came out to support too. So there was really no protest or anything, which is one of the things we were worried about. I just really more turned into a community event that people wanted to come and show their support for the kids and what they wanted to do. So
well, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. You're happy with how that all played out.
Yep.
You must be happy with the Spring Fest. What do you guys call that on the water there? Like the Spring Festival, or Newburyport Spring Festival. I stopped by all the tents and all the kids' activities and the live music and all that. It was a few weeks ago.
Yep.
You're going to do a lot more of that. I think the River Fest is coming
back.
Yeah,
it kind of kicked off the season,
Yeah.
So
it's such a great spot to do it though. I kept watching the live music playing and the kids running around getting face painted.
Yep.
And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, this is like the most beautiful setting in the world. And do you ever take a second and like do that?
Oh, absolutely, every day.
Absolutely,
nope, every day. You know, I mean, and everyone I get to talk to throughout the day. I mean, that's the general theme. I mean, how lucky are we to live in this area and be able to do these types of things? And now we're at this time of year. You know, you've got outdoor dining going on. You're going to have, you know, we've got Parks Fest coming up. That's around July 4th weekend, and we've got River Fest a couple weekends after that, and then the following weekend we got Yankee Homecoming starting. So I mean, we have so many great events. Hopefully the weather again will cooperate. You know, we had a pretty wet July last year, so I'm hoping that was a fluke.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of good things going on.
And summer flies by around here too, so
right.
I'm sure this one will as well. Do you actually find that in your job? I can imagine like days must go by really quickly. Do you ever have to tell yourself like, let's just like we got to slow down a little bit?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, this job's the funniest thing is that you know some of my days are literally every second's booked, and then you'll walk out at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock just to like get a drink or go to the bathroom, and everyone's gone because City Hall shuts down most days at 4. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's 4 o'clock. You have no idea, you know, just because you're going, you know, event to event or you know, meeting. So yeah, you know, it's a big job. I think that's I would, if you were going to ask like what's been the most challenging thing about the job so far, I think it is finding that work-home balance.
Yeah. It's an adjustment for everybody, right?
Sure, you know, I mean, and I would just say, you know, it has been an adjustment for the family, and it's just finding, you know, again, there's just going to be times that I'm not going to be around, and I think my family was used to me being around. You know, I worked from home, you know, prior to this. I had a very flexible schedule, so this is just a little different. And I think we all are figuring it out, but just some weeks and some days are just busier than others.
And there's that always on call thing too.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you are always on call.
Yeah, no, it's a 24/7 job for sure. Like I said, this weekend was nice. Like all those events I had on Saturday, my family was with me for each one of them, which was great. We spent the whole day together. You know, Sunday they didn't want to go to the events that I had to go to, but I still got to go to them. Yeah, it's just a balance. You know, you just got to try to figure it out. And you know, again, I think now that we're in the summer, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to do.
Absolutely. Again, we're joined here by Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon. Mayor, I know we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the tragedy in the water here. I know you were very involved. You were on the scene there a little bit. I saw you tweeting about it. It was a Lowell mother and child, but just
just absolutely tragic. You know, again, every couple years we have these kind of incidents with people who really maybe aren't familiar with the Merrimack River, and it just it takes a split second, right? And it's just you know, anyone with kids too. I mean, I was in a meeting when I first started getting the calls from the police and the fire and the harbor masters telling me what was going on, and you know, your heart just sinks immediately, right? And you know, and you want to help, and you want to, you know, what can I do? And there was nothing for me to do, obviously. But you know, I got to really hand it to my police, fire, and harbor master. They literally worked nonstop for probably 3 days, looking, you know, hoping to recover, you know, the body of that 6-year-old boy, which eventually was found on Sunday. But you know, and again, my heart goes out to the workers as well, because you know, going through something like that, you know, it's tough. So, I mean, as mayor, I'm trying to help, you know, support those departments any way I can, and give them the resources they need, because it is a difficult thing to go through, you know, particularly if you have kids. I mean, it's hard to forget.
People don't think about that often. The workers that go out there.
I think that's absolutely correct. You know, again, and I'm in it right now, but I mean, I don't know if I necessarily would either right off the bat. So I mean, I'm trying to get that message out there. One, just thank you to our awesome police, fire, and harbor master for all their hard work, but also, you know, we're here for you too, right? I mean, we're here to support you, and you know, again, it's not an easy thing to go through.
You grew up here. What is that river like? I mean, you said it's for people that, you know, aren't familiar with this. It can get you.
Today I'm actually going to do a little video with the harbor master and talk about some of these things. But I mean, just growing up, that's how I was brought up. You were, you know, kind of brought up in knowing that, you know, it's one of the most dangerous mouths on the East Coast, right? You know, the current is not to be, you know, taken lightly. I mean, you can be literally gone in a second. Kind of same with Plum Island. I mean, growing up, I love Plum Island. I love everyone out there. Just want to make sure but I mean, that wasn't typically the beach we would go to swim, right? Because I mean, we were always told the undertow is really, you know, hard up there. So I mean, you grew up with just that in the back of your mind. Like,
I actually hadn't heard that about Plum Island.
Oh, really? No. I mean, growing up, and again, the island has changed too, right? Because it is a barrier island. So I mean, it's not quite even just the, you know, what it looks like now. It has changed, right? On all the different things. But growing up, that was always something that my parents told me. So I mean, just I'm always hyper alert, you know, sensitive to that especially with my kids, who are a little older now. But you know, again, it doesn't take much. So yeah, I mean, I just think it's something that we probably should do a better job getting information out there about. Like there should be information on our city website about the water, the public waterways here in the Newburyport area. We should be doing videos with the harbor master talking about boat. We have probably more boaters than we've ever had, right? So boat safety has to be really important too, and how to navigate the river. So there's a lot of things I think we can do, but I mean, it's something you have to keep front of mind, especially if you have families, and especially if you're planning on spending time near the water or on the water.
Yeah. How many communities were out there helping? Because I know it seemed like every...
Yeah, it was a multi-agency, right? And I think a lot of the support, which was definitely appreciated, came from Boston State Police and City of Boston, who came up with dive teams and just more sophisticated equipment than we have up here. I think when the mission changed from a rescue to a recovery, right? I think a lot of those agencies could have gone home, but they said we're coming back every day until we find that body, which was really great to hear.
That's tough when you hear that moment of. I just working in a newsroom all those years. It's always tough when they make that
make the switch,
recovery mission, first.
Yep.
And it's not probably going to end well if that has happened. But you still have hope.
Plus the timing of the day too. I mean, you got dark quick, in that those hours before there. So. And again, they continued throughout the night, most of them, which is just incredible.
It's very admirable work, but of course a tragedy there. What's the one word that I know you're going to be doing probably for the next few weeks, doing a lot of water safety stuff, but what is on the very basic level, what do you want people to know, just water safety going into the summer, whether it be kids, adults, anybody?
Well, I would say just if you're going to spend a lot of time on the river, have your life jackets. Don't take that for granted, even if you're by the river. Again, they were fishing off of Deer Island. You could be on the boardwalk and lose. Take your eye off your child for a second, and they could fall in and be caught in a current. So, I would just especially with kids, you just take it seriously. It is. I would say a more, not dangerous, I don't want to say that, but it's just, it's because it's the Merrimack and because we're so close to a difficult mouth of the river, I mean, it moves quickly. So I would just, don't ever take things for granted, I would say, when you're around the water in the Newburyport area.
And that part of the beauty that we talked about earlier, that sometimes plays a role. You get distracted by the...
Sure, right. I mean, think about the young boy was apparently reaching for a stick. I mean, that takes a half a second. The father was putting chairs away in the car, and you turn around and then, then it's too late. Also, too, I think we want to talk about, too, is just, when I was a kid growing up, and I haven't talked to the school department about this, but growing up, we always, through the schools, would have to go through the YWCA for swimming lessons, right? And a lot of us grew up swimming. My grandparents had a pool, so I do want to look into kind of bringing that back. And we have such a natural connection here with the YWCA. Maybe bringing back that partnership with the schools and getting kids, who might not also always have access to swim lessons or access to a pool or something to learn on their own, to kind of have that be part of what we do here at the schools.
It does seem like nationwide. I don't mean here, but across the country, it seems like there are a lot of drownings, especially at the beginnings of the summer, whether it be pools, like you said, or I've always thought I didn't have to do any of those classes when I was in school. Like they didn't require it. I never did any. I mean, luckily I grew up on a lake and I was always around water, so I was able to, I taught at an early age. I knew how to swim, but I've always thought that should maybe should be a school requirement, like some of those life skills. That
right, yeah. And some of them, there are some school districts around the country that require that for graduation, to have that checked off. So it's just something I'd like to look into. I mean, again, I grew up with a pool, so I mean, I think even when I went through that, and I think it was third grade that we used to do that at the schools when I was a kid. So I think I could already swim, but I mean, I think it was nice to put them through that and just have that, be certified that way.
Was that more common then when you were?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I didn't think much about it. So I said, I think we're lucky here because I don't think every community has this natural connection with the YWCA that you could use to utilize that. But I definitely think it's something we should look into.
It's an interesting thought. How about graduation? You said it was such a proud day for so many people, parents, kids. Does it ring a little bit? It must be kind of a class that you kind of smile a little bit more about because they had to go through such tough times.
Sure,
with the pandemic,
That was definitely the theme, as I attended all the graduation activities and, we had scholarship night and those things. But I mean, and I think about it with my own kids, my daughter started her 6th grade middle school career during a pandemic. So, and then you feel for the classes that lost so much, during that time. So, I mean, I think this class is that just came through, 2022. It's great to see that they, were resilient through all those challenges, and then they got to actually have a senior year and celebrate the way they were supposed to. So, no, it was great to see, and I think it just made it that more special for everybody.
I thought it was great. I was talking with some of the before their win the other day. I was talking with some of the Newburyport leaders on the baseball team, and they were all very unselfish. And the one thing they made sure to say was that they gave a lot of credit to their captains over the last 2 years, the kids that have graduated and moved on, because they said they really kept us in check and built the foundation of what we wanted to do through really tough times. It was not always fun. I mean, honestly, they kind of used baseball as an escape at times, through the pandemic. But baseball with masks at times wasn't always fun.
Sure.
And it was just a weird time. And those leaders really kept them on track. I thought it was very cool that they gave credit to those guys that moved on for helping with this run. I thought that was cool.
Oh, I think that's great. I mean, I think sports in general can can bring out the leadership in kids. So I mean, it's nice to see that in action.
They did. They weren't thrilled with the center fielder wasn't thrilled with wearing the mask when he was 50 yards away from the right fielder, but that was a whole different debate.
We can all look back on some of those things now and say they probably weren't very.
It seems like political leaders are already doing that. I mean, I guess you have to at some point. I think it was Governor Baker who said, if show me one politician who's pitched a perfect game through the pandemic. And,
right.
It's not out there. There are mistakes all over. Would you guys think you learned anything? I mean, I don't know. I know you're only 5 months on the job, so it's a little hard to say, but what do you think we'll take out of the pandemic that might carry over?
I think a lot of the policies and procedures will carry over.
What do you like the best?
Well, I mean, I would say on the school side of it, I mean, there was a big learning curve there, right? I mean, so, I mean, coming out of the pandemic, I mean, think of the tools that teachers have now that they probably weren't utilizing before or didn't have those skills. So they've put a lot of skills into that, and they've been able to incorporate a lot of, technology into what they were doing more so than they were before.
I had to learn Zoom.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're still doing that. I mean, I think on the city side, we're still struggling with coming back to in-person meetings, and do we keep the hybrid? Again, you have to have the technology for those things. So we're working with companies right now, trying to see what we can do to get as many rooms, set up for this hybrid format. Because I do think, whether you can comment at home or not, I think just the fact that you can access, the meetings, I think people will attend more meetings if they're able to just log on. I feel like if you're going to speak at a meeting, you're probably going to show up to it. If you care enough that you have something that you want to be heard, you're probably going to attend that meeting. But at the bare minimum, you should be able to log on and watch that meeting.
What is the percentage of employees that are back? Are you guys half back, or as far as working in the office in person?
Oh, we're 100%.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah, there's some people that get the opportunity to work from home, but for the most part, and I would say probably throughout most of the pandemic, except for probably at the beginning. And again, I wasn't here then, but I think most city workers showed up to work.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I was curious how that was all going to play out, because I was even hearing concert tickets, people that had previously bought tickets before the pandemic for a concert. A lot of those shows weren't necessarily showing as sellouts when they got there, because people weren't maybe ready to come back.
Right.
But it does kind of seem like people in general are ready to at least proceed with caution. That's the general feeling.
I think so. I mean, again, what we try to message at City Hall and throughout the city is, if you want to wear a mask, I mean, do what you feel comfortable, right? I mean, we have another, and it's actually next Wednesday here at the Senior Center, we have another vaccine booster clinic that's going to go on for ages 5 and up. I think it's from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. I think we're about 46% booster rate here in town. I mean, we have a pretty high vaccine rate, but I mean, I'd love to see those booster numbers go up. I mean, they're giving us the tools. I mean, boosters have shown very effective against serious conditions as far as COVID goes, because we are still seeing people, contract the virus. But I think now we can mitigate it more, right? So, I mean, if you're out, you're testing, you can come back sooner than you did before. We had a couple weeks ago, we had I think our whole planning department almost was out with COVID, but, they did their few days, and again, some of them are able to work from home, and then they came back. So, it's kind of doing what you feel comfortable. And I think, the beginning of this, hopefully wonderful spring and summer here in Newburyport, people are out, and I think people are in, but you still will see people in masks. So again, it's what you feel comfortable with. I usually have one with me, so if somebody would feel more comfortable if I had one on, I'm certainly willing to do that. But I think we're in a good spot, even though the positivity rate is high, but you're not seeing those hospitalizations like you did before. So we do still have our calls, not on a weekly basis like we did, but we still, keep in touch with Anna Jakes and find out what's going on up there and what they're seeing, and we make decisions on that.
No doubt. My cousin tells me he flies all the time. He's going to keep wearing the mask. He thinks for the rest of his life, just because he doesn't want to catch a cold.
Right.
He doesn't want to catch anything.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess no getting on people for wearing them. It's,
oh, absolutely. Nope. Do what feels right to you.
It's always been a weird thing for me. Again, we're joined by Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon. How has this is not your thing. It's not any political leader's thing, but it's obviously a problem that like the average person is working with on a daily basis. Gas prices are $5 a gallon right now.
Sure.
I'm sure you realize that struggle on the the blue collar worker.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on the struggle right now with the pumps.
Yeah. No. I mean, I feel fortunate that I work in town, right? I used to drive all over the place for work. No, it is a struggle, and it's really so we're right in the middle of budget season. So I mean, this is something that we've had to try to budget for, knowing that all these fuel prices are going up.
You don't even think of that. Right?
I mean, think about our fire, police, DPW, our DPS workers that were out there driving around each day around the city. I mean, it's going to be significant. I think the way we do like a collaborative bid for fuel prices with a lot of different communities, so they're in the process of doing that. But God, when you're over $5 a gallon right now, I mean that's going to have a serious impact on fuel costs as we move into next year. So yeah, no, it's difficult, and plus, with inflation and everything else, I mean, everything is just costing more right now. So any kind of project we're trying to do in the city is just is just kind of ballooning up too. So there's projects that we had bids for and estimates for, a couple years ago that now we have to go back and see what the cost difference we're going to have to make up is. So it's difficult. Again, these are somewhat uncertain financial times. We don't know where we're going. So we're hopefully going to make good decisions this year. And I think I've put together a really good strategic budget that will get voted on hopefully next Tuesday. And then we'll have to be prepared for the years to come.
Who is your budget team? Are you at home at night crunching all the numbers?
I have a wonderful budget person, Ethan Manning, who's been with the city for a long time now. He's our finance director. But it was interesting because that was my first time going through this process, right? And when you get elected and then you take office in January, you're right in it. This budget process has already started, right?
Right.
So it was great. I mean, I have my core team in the mayor's office, and we work with the finance office, and then we're working with each individual department, right? So they come to, we set up with meetings with all of them. They come to us with certain asks, and this is what they're thinking for their budget this year. They look at, we examine what they did last year. What made sense, what didn't, can we allocate those funds differently? And then you kind of go through all that process, and then the finance and mayor's office put together the actual budget, and then we release that to city councilors and to the department heads too, because now we have to go back to the department and say, hey, I know you asked for this, this, and this. We can only do this year. This is our situation. We've had some contracts that were up this year, so the teachers just got a new 3-year contract, so you have to calculate in those increases as well. But it was great kind of going through this process as mayor, right? Because I've gone through it a few times on the school side as a school committee member. But you tell the department heads this is the direction we're going, and maybe this will lead to future changes. And then you go through this massive, and again, I give all the credit to the city council because they're putting in a lot of work, particularly the past 2 months, going through these budget hearings, right? So now, you have to go kind of defend each department to the city council. They control the purse strings. Again, I think we've put together a great budget, and they've got their last hearing, I believe it's tonight, for public safety and public services. And they're going to do one more budget hearing tomorrow that will kind of be all-encompassing, and then they'll vote on Tuesday.
So the pie is only so big. I imagine your job is a lot of that kind of saying no. That must get difficult because, there's always another group person asking, right?
Yeah, especially I think in public organizations, I think you always are inclined to, think you need more people, right? Mm-hmm. Because, we're all so busy, right? So I think it really takes... you have to have good conversations with your department heads and seeing, are we maximizing what we have and what are the most strategic things we can do. I think that happens on the school time a lot too. I think 87%, or that's probably not that high. I think it's like 82% of, the school budget is people, right? And so each year, I sit through those meetings and I thought that we did the process a little different on the school side this year. I told them I wasn't going to take a vote on it, just because I felt like it's funny that the mayor would take a vote on the school budget because it's just going to come up to the mayor anyways, right? So I let them have, I let us all have a discussion around the budget, and I let Superintendent Gallagher work with his team to come up with what he called an aspirational budget. I think we're calling it more of like a strategic budget now, whereas, you've got your level funded budget, but this is what we'd like to do, right? So this is what gets us to where we're doing right now, but this is what we want to try to do.
Yeah.
And so they originally passed us a 6% increase than what they did last year. And, with the teacher contract this year and everything else, I just felt I couldn't fund that this year. So I got them down to a 5% increase. And so he had to go back with the school committee and make some changes to what their original plan was. But I think this is something that we can do gradually, especially when you're talking about adding people, right? I think anytime you add a new position, you've got to, you have to justify it, and then, you have to, especially in schools, how is it going to maximize, achievement on the most number of kids, right?
Budget talk sounds so exciting, doesn't it? I can imagine a lot of hours being put in on that. That must be a little draining.
Yeah, no, the budget is tough. Luckily, I think we have, again, we have a great budget and finance committee. They have a 3-member committee that works with the committee as a whole to kind of go through all these things. And, they ask a lot of tough questions. And so I really commend my department heads and my staff in the mayor's office answering them. And so, like I said, I'm hoping that they don't make a lot of cuts, because the city council can only cut; they can't add to the budget. So, we'll kind of make our final push this week and hopefully answer all their questions. And again, I'm hoping that they pass everything, because we have a lot of things going on, and I would hate to see things that we got going on, like the youth services. We're big into the youth services now. We're meeting with architects. We're working on designs. I have a project manager. I hope the budget will support that moving forward.
Gotcha. All right, very good. Again, we're joined here by Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon. Final few minutes here. Speaking of teachers, my wife is a teacher. I think I may have mentioned that to you before. She's in Saugus right now, and she tells me they're having staff shortages like you would not believe. I mean, it's. I believe the feeling I'm getting is it is hard to hire teachers in some communities. Does Newburyport have that problem?
I don't think we have that problem right now, but that is something we're always keeping track of. I think we've seen a lot more retirements the last 2 years too, and we're losing.
It's probably natural coming out of a pandemic.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think some teachers, just kind of gave it everything they had, right? And it's time to move on. We have a lot of veteran teachers here in Newburyport too, so I do think some of them are just natural retirements. But we're losing some really great people this year, but they've earned it. So I think we're in good shape. Plus, I think we're a very desirable district to work in as well. So I don't think we're seeing that. I think every district in the Commonwealth probably struggles with replacing teachers and absences due to COVID, or just substitutes in general. So my dad's been subbing my dad's 71 years old. He's he taught for 34 years, but he's been subbing since February or March on a maternity leave for gym class.
No kidding.
So he's been teaching at the Bresnahan, and he has loved every minute of it, because he's been subbing since he retired in 2009. But I know he can't wait till the last day of school, because he is exhaused. He's given everything he's had to the kids, and it's fun. It's funny walking around in town with him, because I always grew up as Mr. Reardon's son, right?
Yeah.
He was a popular coach here in town and teacher, and now some people recognize me. So I mean, some people know who I am. Or if I go into schools, they make a big deal. But
well, good for him doing
No,
that.
but it's good for him. But he's loved every minute of it. Now it's funny. I go around town with him at my son's baseball game or something. He'll have all these little kids coming up to him and saying, "Hey, Mr. Reardon, how you doing? That's my gym teacher."
That is funny.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool when you were, before you got elected mayor. I thought that was great. The stories you were saying about how your dad would go out there and help hold the signs and do the meet and greets, and he was just there. There for you.
Yeah, we went in depth of that, but that's just like that. Getting up early and doing all that stuff, just him and me, and it was special. We still kind of reminisce about. I mean, it's funny. 5.5 months in, I still have moments in the day. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I am in this job. It just puts a huge smile on my face.
Really, it still happens. Yeah,
it still happens. Yeah, just for a split second, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm mayor.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember I had virtually. And I know him a little bit. He's a good man, now Secretary of Labor. But I had Marty Walsh on when he was from his office at City Hall. We did a thing. He was nice enough to take a few minutes, and more than a few minutes. I think I did. Sarah can tell me at some point. I think we did like 50 minutes with Marty Walsh during the pandemic on a summer day. It was sweet of him to take the time. But he told me, he goes, you know what? It hits me. It hits me when I see the damn sign, you go to a different neighborhood, you could turn into Boston, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, or Martin Walsh. Yeah. I think the signs say, and he goes, huh, yeah, that's me. That's right. And he goes, and sometimes it'll hit me like when I'm in the office. He goes, and those Boston offices, they're not too glamorous. It's the old City Hall building, but he goes, it hits me here sometimes too, just looking at it. I'll be by myself, and just odd moments it hits him.
Yeah, it does. And I would say that exactly same thing happens to me as well.
Yeah.
And again, I think getting to participate in these some of these things I grew up with, and now you're kind of taking like the Memorial Day ceremony, on the steps of City Hall, which is a cool event, and Kevin Hunt is so great to work with. He's our director of Veteran Services, but some even things like that, like wow, like well, what a cool thing I get to do every day.
It is a cool thing. Good veterans. I mean, there's great veterans all over Newburyport and really all over the state. But here in Newburyport, I've had a chance to meet some of the leaders that do a lot of that stuff, and I'm thinking of some of them right now, and William Shuttleworth there, who walked across the country.
Yep.
And some of these guys, they're just the stories that the knowledge, it's things these guys have seen and done in years since service. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a good group. We got Boots Chenard too, like over in Salisbury, just a super guy, and I love sitting around and listening to them talk.
Pick their brains all day.
Yeah, and that was like especially Boots. Boots grew up with my grandfather. That generation. So I love anytime I get a chance to meet Boots and talk with him. It's always great.
What a name.
Boots.
I don't know if William has told you this story. He told me he was in I think it was Midwest. I don't know if he was in Colorado. I want to say Colorado, but he said he met a small town mayor, and he said, "Show me where the veterans are," and she had never met a veteran. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "How is that possible? How are you the mayor?
Right.
And you've never met a veteran?" And he goes, "Well, come on, walk with me." And they walked, and he started asking questions. And he goes, "Within a minute, we were at a table with a few veterans. And I know how to spot them."
Yep.
And there we are. We were talking about issues. And he goes, I mean, that's how it's done. That's why he was walking across the country. But it's just one of the stories that stuck with me.
Yeah, I got to sit with him during the campaign a little bit. He had a lot of great ideas. It was nice to sit and talk with him.
It's a very he gets things done. That guy.
Yeah.
It's always the impression.
Yeah, he was a former school superintendent, so I kind of not knew him, but like we kind of ran in similar circles when I was calling on that territory when I was working.
I am not sure I knew that about him.
Oh yeah,
In Newburyport?
No, up in Maine.
Oh, okay.
A couple smaller school districts up in Maine, but yeah.
Oh, all right.
That was his background.
I did not know that. All right. Final minute or two here again. Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon, nice enough to join us. Sarah Blackstone producing today. Sarah Hayden around somewhere, not exactly sure where. Hi, Sarah. This has been fun. You mentioned your 6th grade daughter. Did you learn stuff in your own home that you were able to maybe kind of, that resonates with me. The kids are having a tough time with this right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, so I have an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and my son Oliver's in 4th grade.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I saw a lot of those things, right? Yeah. I mean, plus, I think all kids are different too, right? So when they're all going through something, they're all going through it something differently, right? Yeah. Whether it be accessing the curriculum or with social emotional issues, right? I have some kids who are very emotional. I have some kids that keep everything in and might act out in different ways.
Yeah.
But I think right now, honestly, like this 2022 school year, 21-22 school year, I mean, I couldn't be more prouder of the kids. Yeah. I mean, I think we've had, steps where, I think I have not tested positive for COVID. I think
really?
I might be one of the last few people. But my kids have at different times, so they've had to miss some school. But I think the schools had good plans in place, and that they've been able to keep up and are on track. And so I do think, coming out of this has been the best year, right? Because I mean, we've been able to see that transition to back in person and doing all the things that the schools have wanted to do.
Gotcha. What do you hope to accomplish here through the summer? What are the top checklist goals here?
Oh, top checklist. Well, I mean, one, we got to get this budget. I hope all the things I've been asking for gets approved, right? And then, I want to finalize a building for NYS. That's going to be a big thing. So the next step there is we're going to come with them with a design concept and a budget. And if I can get the City Council, I need 8 votes out of 11 to agree on that. Then we can move forward and get approved on the zoning, and then we're off and running. And hopefully we can get NYS in a building by next spring. That and starting the West End Fire Station project. That's already been approved. We're kind of working in the design, finishing up the design phase now. If we can get that project going and hopefully break ground soon on that, I think that would be great. God, there's a million things I want to do. We have this huge, I will say this, we have this huge bulkhead project, which is probably like my number two project on my list, and that's kind of supporting the infrastructure on the water, right? It like kind of holds the waterfront where it is, and holds up the boardwalk. And years ago we did both ends of it, but now like the whole middle we want to get done. We got an earmark from Congressman Moulton's office for $2.25 million. We're securing that, but then we're also it's a $6 million project or just under that, so we're trying to get a couple grants for that. So we should find out some things in the next 8 weeks.
Okay.
And so if we're in a good shape there, we're going to be able to move forward. Hopefully at the end of the fall, kind of right before. That's the time of year they would do the work. And lastly, getting the dredge for Plum Island, Reservation Terrace. We're still on track there. They say the work should begin in September. So I'm just working that as hard as I can because we got to get the beach back. In that area. We're working on a lot of new signage and communication and hopefully a spot on our website for more information about Plum Island. But that beach is just gone there right now. And I feel for the neighbors because people don't know that, right? So, I mean, you've got people coming from out of town walking through their yards and accessing parts of the beach that will soon disappear once the tide changes, right? So we got people getting stuck at different areas of the beach too. So we're working on signage. We've already done some things out there, but we're going to do a little bit more and hopefully we can have a good summer thing.
But that's a battle, isn't it?
It is a battle. Yeah, because I mean, we've done everything we can to protect the houses there, right? And we're talking the areas from like 73rd to 77th Street. But the beach just continues to change. So until we can get that sand back on, and like I said, hopefully this work is going to be done in September. It's just gonna keep affecting those neighbors, right? So. Again, in the meantime, I feel like I just need to do everything I possibly can do to get the word out, put the information out there, like have regular, patrols of that area because it is dangerous. So that's another, you can talk about another dangerous water area. That beach isn't there anymore. So you literally have people walking through there and then the tide comes in and then they can't walk back the way they came. So we're trying to do all the things we can do to let people know, what's going on out there and keep that area particularly safe.
Beautiful sunsets there, though.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's unbelievable.
Sunset Club. It's a good spot.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
It's in Newbury, but it's still a good spot.
That's where we can find you. Okay. Excellent. Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon, thank you so much for taking a few moments. Anything else you'd like to add here before we launch into the summer?
Yeah, just finally, Juneteenth is Monday. It's a federal holiday. We're doing our celebration this Friday, June 17th, at 12 p.m. at City Hall. We'll have a couple of speakers. We're going to have music. We're going to have food, but it should be a great Juneteenth celebration.
Okay. And, of course, kids, stay safe on the water, too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Newburyport Mayor Sean Reardon, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fun. Sarah Blackstone, Sarah Hayden, all the partners that put this show together. We appreciate you very much. We're going to let you go, all right? Live at Drew's house, Job Afternoon Drive, another edition. Thank you to the mayor. See you, everybody.
Thanks, Drew.